We come on the air with breaking news. Philadelphia Mayor Cherelle Parker is expected to address the SEPTA service cuts that went into effect yesterday, impacted a lot of people today. I'm Tracy Davidson. The transit agency moved forward with phase one of their plan to cut services on Sunday, forcing thousands of riders to change their daily commute today. That included thousands of Philadelphia school students who were returning for the first day of school. Let's take you live to City Hall,
this
where
press conference
Mayor
today
is about to speak.
Update everyone on first what the city of Philadelphia is doing regarding SEPTA, to the service cuts that began to be implemented yesterday across the city of Philadelphia and beyond, and three, what we know about the situation unfolding in Harrisburg. But I want to start by restating a set of facts that are very important to us as an administration to make sure that all Philadelphians are familiar with them and that they are clear and understand them. And the first is that we can't forget that SEPTA is much more than a public transit system. It's the heartbeat of the economic engine for an entire city and region. It connects communities to jobs, to schools, healthcare, and opportunity. And there's no way to say it other than without it, our people will suffer. Sometimes we hear numbers and stats and we don't connect them to people, but that's important to me that you understand this. Over 700,000 people use SEPTA every day to get to work, to go to school, to go to medical appointments, to attend sporting events, just leisurely activities, and for many other reasons. An estimated, Dr. Wallington, and we checked it and rechecked it, 52,000 students take SEPTA every day to get to and from school in Philadelphia. Our own workforce, we estimate that 1,000 city employees will be significantly impacted by these SEPTA service reductions. And another issue near and dear to my heart, talk about the importance of never forgetting your real life lived experience. About 65,000 senior citizens ride SEPTA in Philadelphia every day to get to a doctor's appointment, to see their loved ones. In my case, for my grandfather, it was to get to the senior center or the adult daycare center. It is by far, SEPTA, the lifeline for our seniors. All of this is why the city of Philadelphia did the most impactful thing that we could do for SEPTA in June, when we passed our Philadelphia budget, 5-year plan, and our 6-year capital program that included $792 million in both operating and capital support for SEPTA. I just want to make sure everybody is with me, because Philadelphia, we're not always in a position when we face a crisis where we can stand up and proudly affirm that our homework is done. Let me hear you all repeat after me and say $792 million. $792 million. Our city stepped up to the plate. Legislative body, led by our city council president, Kenyatta Johnson, and all members of the City Council of Philadelphia, working in partnership with the Parker administration, we made sure we did what we knew we had to do in our budget process. Now, I want to add that our governor, Josh Shapiro, he gets it and he understands it 1,001%. He understands the urgency of the moment, and he understands that reliable and safe public transportation, that is crucial to our city and our Commonwealth's economic future. I want to say to Speaker Joanna McClinton, House Majority Leader Matt Bradford, Appropriations Chairman Jordan Harris, our Senate Appropriations Chair Vincent Hughes, our President Pro Tem Kim Ward, our Republican Senate leader, Pittman, I know that they get it too. And our ask is to encourage in the most supportive way that we possibly can them all to continue to stay at the table to help to deliver the critical funding that we need to keep the economic engine of southeastern Pennsylvania moving. I want you to know that we understand it, the sense of urgency at this moment, and when you hear us talk about that $792 million, I want you to know that for Philadelphia, that started for us in fiscal year 25. We included $133.3 million in our operating budget for SEPTA. And we didn't change that amount when the adopted state budget provided less funding for SEPTA that had been included in the governor's proposed budget. We could have reduced our funding during that time by about $15 million based on the adopted budget and the amount that the city is required to match state dollars. SEPTA's budget shows that in addition to the city's contribution, the match amount for operating costs for Pennsylvania's counties surrounding Philadelphia is about $28 million. Well, in this year's budget, because this is important to get the numbers on the record so that Philadelphians know that their tax dollars have been significantly invested in the mass transit system that keeps our city and our region going. This year's budget, the city has included $135 million in SEPTA subsidy in our operating budget. Overall, the contribution to SEPTA, operating and capital. Let me hear you say operating and capital. Operating and capital. Over our 5-year plan and our 6-year capital program is $792 million. Now, while SEPTA is responsible for providing transit service, our acting managing director and our deputy managing director for Otis, Mike Carroll here. Whenever you hear me talk about Mike Carroll, I had to tell people, yes, he's the subject matter expert. His name's not subject matter expert. His name is Mike Carroll. Right, but Mike Carroll is our subject matter expert on transportation, and he is going to walk you through everything that the city is doing to mitigate the traffic impact, these service reductions on roads and streets that the city of Philadelphia is responsible for managing. He's going to walk you through all of that. We are collaborating with SEPTA, with the school district, universities, employers, nonprofits, and community groups to deploy alternative solutions and to do our best to minimize, to help to mitigate the disruption for our residents. But I want to be clear, in no way, shape, or form are the plans that you're going to hear about today. None of that can suffice for a fully funded, fully operational at 100% capacity SEPTA. But what you are going to hear about is a comprehensive citywide effort that Mike is leading, which includes our Office of Transportation and Infrastructure Services, our Streets Department, our Commerce Department. Where's Deputy Commissioner Stanford? Commissioner? Our police department, our neighborhood action centers located throughout the city to help traffic, parking, commuting, and safety measures that can help our people adjust and adapt. On today, we're urging all of our residents who rely on public transportation in their day-to-day living to devise a plan that if your route has been canceled or it's been cut back, don't delay. The service reductions are here. So for anyone, and I have to say this because I heard some people in the midst of all of this saying that, well, this is all a created crisis. You rest assured that if there was a way that the city of Philadelphia alone could have addressed this, it would be done. But we can't do any of this alone. We want everyone to be aware of the many resources and tools that SEPTA has already launched to assist people in figuring out new options for getting where they need to be on SEPTA. And the city will be leveraging those resources and even training our staff who interact with residents so that they can be a valuable resource for information. Hassan Freeman, thank you for the engagement centers. We are doing the same with all of our city employees, and we know flexibility is going to be essential. So on today, you're going to hear from Mike Carroll, who's going to give you all of the details. You're also going to hear from Dr. Wadlington, and you're going to hear from our finance director, Rob DeBow, because everything that you're going to hear from us today, it has a fiscal impact on the city of Philadelphia. Thank you. We'll turn it over to Mike Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, and good afternoon. Again, I'm Mike Carroll. I'm the acting managing director and the deputy managing director for the Office of Transportation and Infrastructure. I want to reiterate something that Mayor Parker just stated for you. We all appreciate the entire operation at SEPTA, all the incredible work that they do for our region. They're responsible for keeping the transit moving, for keeping the buses, the trolleys, the rail cars moving. And when they are not sufficiently funded, their ability to do that is reduced. As a consequence, the city then needs to step in and elevate its part of that responsibility to make sure that our roads, our streets, the intersections, all the other aspects of the transportation system are working as reliably and efficiently as they can during that state when SEPTA is operating with less ability. So that means that the Parker administration, which includes the Office of Transportation, the Streets Department, the Office of Emergency Management, the Office of Public Safety, the Police Department, and as she mentioned, the Neighborhood Action Centers, we have been working collaboratively for weeks to develop a strategy and an action plan that we always hoped would not need to be implemented. But yesterday we did hit that start and we needed to activate that plan. So this is given the doomsday budget, which SEPTA did not want to have to operate on. But given that budget, these service reductions have been locked in. And until there is movement on funding in the state budget, this is the reality that we need to manage every day. As reported last week, the city has been working to leverage SEPTA's messaging and their resources so that people who use transit, people who are driving on the streets, people who depend on the buses, the Broad Street line, the regional rail services, can pay closer attention to what's going on and update their own travel plans. We expected that folks have been doing this, and I think we're starting to see the results of that expectation play out. SEPTA's done a great job posting signs at all bus stops that indicate which lines are no longer in service. They've been flooding social media and using all means of communication to reach their customers. City staff have also done a great job of sharing materials and guidance to help the traveling public find alternatives and prepare for travel disruptions given the reduced number of transit options. In fact, a blog that we posted last week on the city's website included maps of available parking near transit so that people could access park and ride locations around the region, and we've offered guidance on how people can avoid driving in rush hour traffic. There have been over 24,558 views of the maps that we created, so that message is getting out there. We will continue to update our blog, incorporating information that can be found from other sources, and this can all be accessed through the city's website. So we encourage you to visit it for regular updates about city operations. While we hear that many commuters took advantage of these resources and were ready today, we also know that many others were not.
That's right.
And so we hope now people realize that this is the time to do that planning. Today we are here to offer continued support. So we expect by now Philadelphians are hearing and understanding that the changes made yesterday and today are the first round of service reductions proposed by SEPTA, given their doomsday budget. Now let me reiterate what that means. The current cuts have already implemented 20% service reductions in bus, trolley, and metro services. Another set of cutbacks affecting regional rail will happen on September 2nd. Starting also in September, there will be a 21.5% increase in fares. So a base fare for transit will go from $2.50 a ride to $2.90 a ride. We know this will affect people's access to transit, and we need to be prepared for that. Riders throughout the region are seeing the elimination of 32 bus routes, including 16 that serve the city of Philadelphia. It's perhaps even more significant that there will be across-the-board reductions in frequency on all services and a reduced number of trips on all rail lines. This includes the end to special services like Sports Express trains. As we expect, this will add to congestion on our streets and to more crowded conditions on transit vehicles. We need to be prepared. Now, we've offered a lot of advice to help transit users and other travelers cope today, and I'm repeating that advice and sharing more about what the city has been doing to manage congestion and other disruptions to transportation. Travelers should consider rescheduling their travel as much as possible to avoid rush hour. We want people to plan to use these park and ride locations that we've identified. And when they get near their destination, look for options to either walk, ride a bike, use other transit options from other services for any trips that are in Center City or University City or where these options exist. And we're providing resources so people can find where to access that stuff. Always factor in ample time for your travel. Making trips to congestion areas will require more time than you may be used to. Factor that into your travel planning. If you're traveling by a vehicle, plan that commute in advance and consider off-street parking as a viable option. Don't expect to find a place to park on street right next to where you're going. It's not reasonable. And when you're circling the block trying to find a meter, you're creating more congestion for the people who are also driving around. Try to share your plans with others so that you can coordinate. It just takes two people who are going to the same place to form a carpool. If you can't do that one-on-one, work with your managers and other business owners to find options that can help. And so for employers and other managers, we want you to be flexible with your workforce. Be flexible with the people who have appointments with you. Understand that it is a little bit harder to get around and try and work with them to reschedule when that's possible. Also consider designating people who can help organize among your workforce so that carpools may be easier to form. So starting today, the Department of Streets intensifies its work to ensure the reliability of our system. We're monitoring on a constant basis our traffic network for possible impacts. This involves observing traffic volumes and traffic time across our arterials and our expressways. We're looking for changes in travel peaks, when people leave to take their trips, and changes in the routes people are taking. We're identifying delays on corridors and congested intersections and breakdowns in the level of service for transportation. We're tracking other factors external, such as electrical issues, which could reduce our signal uptime, or other forms of street work. We're working with parking operators to understand and anticipate changes in parking patterns which may affect traffic. So all of this data we're collecting will help us maximize progression on our key corridors. It'll minimize signal downtime. It'll minimize the loss of our surveillance through cameras and other transportation infrastructure. And it'll help us identify where we need to elevate enforcement and other measures to maintain reliability. This work will guide and refine our approach over this week and any future weeks where we're under this condition with reduced SEPTA operations. It ensures that we'll stay on top of commuter behavior and that we'll be as effective as possible deploying our resources to manage trouble spots that we observe. Now, judging by what we saw this morning, our efforts have been pretty successful. We were able to raise public awareness and to manage the system fairly well this morning. That doesn't mean there have not been issues, and in fact, some unexpected things did happen this morning. Folks may be aware of the industrial fire on State Road. But overall, from what we've seen, the congestion this Monday morning was not significantly worse than what we would expect during any summer Monday morning. The traffic network performed well, and we want to thank the folks at the Traffic Operations Center and the entire Streets Department team for their efforts as they continue to monitor conditions and prepare for increases. We do expect increases next week. Folks will return from vacations after Labor Day, and more schools will be in attendance. But we appreciate the work that's happened, and we will continue that work to manage that condition when it comes. We're maintaining our infrastructure. We're accelerating repairs where we see there's issues that may affect our traffic system, and we will maintain our vigilance to make sure we're as responsive as possible when events occur. I'd like to remind Philadelphians to sign up for Ready Philadelphia alerts. To receive text alerts on your phone during any emergencies, text Ready Phila to 888-777 or go to Ready Philadelphia's website. You can receive text alerts when a traffic incident occurs or when there's closures on major arterials such as I-95, 76, or 676, or Route 1. If we feel it's needed for us to step up these efforts, we may use these services to provide additional alerts to people who are traveling around the region. I want to highlight the work of our Office of Public Safety and also appreciate the work that's going into standing up our safe neighborhoods along with the Philadelphia Police Department. We'll be working closely with the school district safety teams to ensure city resources are coordinated with the school districts and to support their efforts to keep school students safe during their commute to school. Finally, I want to reiterate the historic $792 million investment from the city to SEPTA, and as the mayor highlighted, in that budget, we want to make sure it has the greatest benefit for the residents of Philadelphia. With that in mind, we are particularly interested in any approaches which allow us to restore school service to the greatest extent possible for students and families that need that to get to school. Therefore, we are creatively exploring possibilities and developing proposals in order to maintain and restore service, and we look forward to updating you all on that later this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Cherelle. Dr. Watlington.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor. First of all, it was a pleasure to join you this morning at the Steele School to welcome hundreds of thousands of young people back to school in the nation's 6th largest city and 8th largest public school district out of 14,000 public school districts. We were joined this morning by Vice President Sarah Ashley Andrews. Is here. If you'll stand, please. And School Board Member Cheryl Harper. Ms. Harper, if you'll stand. Madam Mayor, after we left you mid-morning, we've been in schools all day long, and we just left Furness High School. And Mayor, we're really pleased that we saw some bright-eyed, smiling, excited young faces this morning, fresh haircuts, their hairdos. Mayor, I saw you commend a lot of the young ladies on their hairdo, and I saw them smile, and saw their new kicks or shoes or whatever they call them these days, and it was really exciting. We reminded our young people that they're making some tremendous progress, Mayor. Last year in January, when we received the nation's report card, which comes out every 2 years. In 1969, Congress commissioned what's called the NAEP test, the National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP. It's administered every 2 years in all 50 states and 26 what we call urban districts, or the NAEP TUDA districts. We're one of them. The data showed that pre-pandemic, our students in 4th and 8th grade reading or math were performing in the lowest quartile. We're really pleased in 2024 when the data came out, we're in the top quartile and in 1st and 2nd place in a couple of places compared to other big districts. Big round of applause. So, Mayor, while I can tell you we've not quite got the state data back yet for the 2024-25 school year, we'll get that later this fall. The state data, I can tell you the national data is excellent in terms of improvements. I can also tell you, Madam Mayor, that the key to that is year over year, over the past 3 years and beyond, our students have improved their regular student attendance. The key sauce is, one, we need our children in school 90% of every month and 90% of the school year. And when that happens, and we marry that with highly qualified, well-supported, and stable teachers over time, highly qualified, stable, well-supported principals over time, and we put the best curriculum, as Dr. Clayton taught us all, put the best curriculum in reading, math, and science, Board Member Harper, she says, don't forget science, in front of them. We know we will continue to improve. We are meeting in the administration late this evening, Mayor Parker, and we're going to stay in the office until we can ensure that all of our children made it home safely, and we are going to assess what attendance looked like today. Yes. I can tell you that while we don't have the numbers across the district just yet, as we left Furness High School, Principal Poe told me that typically today he would expect 90+% of his children to be in attendance, and because of some of the transportation impacts, those numbers have dropped down to the 70s. And so while that's not a promising trend, we are hopeful that this can get turned around sooner rather than later, because if we can get our kids in school 90% of the month, 90% of the year, and keep driving on the good hard work that we're doing, Madam Mayor, we can get further down the road to being the fastest improving large urban school district in the country. And we certainly thank you for changing the percentage of the millage rate that comes to the school district. It will result in additional $240 million over a 45-year period, Madam Mayor. So thank you for the City of Philadelphia and City Council. And we're excited about a great school year, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. Finance Director Rob DeBoe.
Thank you. So we have in the Parker administration consistently shown our commitment to stepping up in times with challenges like these. But at the same time, we've also shown our commitment to fiscal stability. We've done that through the choices we've made in our budget processes, in our labor negotiations, in our discussions about tax investments. And that means in this case, we'll do what we can to help SEPTA riders, to help our school students, but we'll also live within our means. And while we've built up historic reserves with uncertain federal policies, an uncertain national economy, persistent inflation, we don't have the financial resources to substitute for the Commonwealth's funding, particularly after committing $792 million, as you may have heard. Any funding that we add to SEPTA, any help that we give, while essential, will also mean that we have to look at other trade-offs and we have to figure out how we will pay for that. With that, I'm going to turn it back to the Mayor.
Let me just state, Mike Carroll, our transportation subject matter expert, Dr. Watlington. So Dr. Watlington, we're the 6th largest city in the nation, but the 8th largest school district in the U.S., and we have the best superintendent in the nation right here with Dr. Watlington. Thank you. And thank President Steinberg for what you and the PFT were able to do. And to Rob DeBoe, our finance director, thank you for helping to make sure that we stay on the right path. We want to make sure that we take some questions from you right now, if there are any. Lauren.
Do you think Philly can wait for Harrisburg to come up with a long-term fix, or do you think they need to go get some sort of short-term?
Lauren, this is the first time that the issue of the funding for mass transit, roads, bridges, and highways, that I have not had a formal seat at the table because I'm not a member of the legislature. And one of the things that I've been very disciplined in doing as mayor of the city of Philadelphia is to in no way, shape, or form attempt to say anything that boxes legislators, the leaders, along with our governor, into a place and space to say you have to pick one strategy over the other. I was there and I was a part of getting it done for Act 89 that delivered over $450 million in recurring revenue for mass transit with SEPTA as a beneficiary. And I know what it's like when you're working in a highly charged, polarized, partisan environment. And when we got it done, we had a Republican governor, a Republican-controlled House, and a Republican-controlled Senate. And so when people ask me what's the vehicle, Dr. Watlington, it reminds me of one of our first conversations that we had. And I said, whenever we are working on trying to ensure funding for the school district of Philadelphia, I felt the same way with Dr. Height. I never want a school board president or our superintendent having to engage in the business or the politics of deciding what happens there, because he's our educational subject matter expert, just like I feel about Mike Carl with technology. So I won't pick, Lauren, one or the other. I just don't want to put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. I know how valuable SEPTA is to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and it has a structural deficit. In Philadelphia, I want you to think about this. We knew what it was like when the school district was facing a structural deficit, and we needed to come up with a source for recurring revenue. And we did that when we were able to use sales tax revenue. For those of you who don't remember it, we increased the sales tax in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, here in the city of Philadelphia specifically. That was to generate over $120 million. Funny, Rob DeBoe, how these numbers, they live in my DNA. $120 million for the school district, and anything over and above that after we paid our debt service, it went to address the unfunded liability of our municipal pension system. And then we did the cigarette tax. We had to find a way, because SEPTA had now, is it a $10 billion capital backlog? $10 billion. So we're talking about keeping SEPTA running, and we're talking about the service cuts. What about SEPTA being safe? Just like we have to make repairs to our aging infrastructure, I want Philadelphians to recognize, in southeastern Pennsylvania and Pennsylvanians at large, to realize SEPTA has a $10 billion capital backlog. So how do we get there, Lauren? I don't know. But I know that our Philadelphia delegation legislators, and I want to say this to all of them, to those who are in leadership and to those who are members, thank you. We see you. We know what you're doing. And just figure out a way to try to get there. But whether it's going to, where the revenue source is going to come from, is it going to be short term? I have no idea, Lauren, but this is what I do know. I know that I've talked to almost every legislative leader. I know members of Congress, Congressman Dwight Evans, he's been on the phone. People have been working, calling folks inside of government, outside of government. Same strategy that we use. We just need everyone rowing and moving in the same direction in order to get there. But I won't choose one strategy over the other. Thank you for that question, Sean.
You've been listening to Mayor Cherelle Parker and other city officials talk about the city's action plan to respond to SEPTA's cuts, including suggestions that people walk, ride a bike for any trips in Center City and carpool, and saying that they are working with parking operators and they are monitoring the traffic conditions. We have live team coverage of the response to the SEPTA's cuts and how commuters are responding coming up this afternoon on NBC 10 News at 4. We'll see you then.
Yeah, we have to.